Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to give you my standard video review of the Sony 12-24mm F2.8 G Master lens. This, of course, is Sony's premium wide-angle lens and most extreme wide-angle lens for professional grade, in that while they have a 12-24mm already, it's an f4 lens. And so this f2.8 lens just kind of ramps up the intensity and really does something that I've never seen a company do before, in that while I've reviewed a few 12-24mm lenses, I've never done one with a maximum aperture across the zoom range of f2.8, which requires a whole other level of engineering. So Sony likes to tout that this is a small and light lens, and relative to what they've accomplished, sure, I'll cede them that. But it's actually, as you can see, not a small lens in an absolute sense. It is 137 millimeters in length. It is about 98 millimeters in diameter, and it weighs in at a fairly whopping 847 grams. Now, certainly there are larger, heavier lenses than this. Even, a lens like Tamron's 15 to 30 millimeter f2.8 VC lens was larger and heavier than what this lens was, while having a less extreme focal length. But nonetheless, it is a larger and heavier lens than what you need to buy if you don't need the extreme of 12 millimeters, which we'll revisit a little bit more towards the end of the review. Now, today we're doing the standard review, and so I'll move through things fairly quickly with less detail. If you want all the detail, check out the definitive review instead, as it takes a deeper dive into a lot of different aspects of performance. So Sony's premium lenses do come with a nice nylon padded case, good for transporting and protecting it. And with any kind of lens with an extreme focal length like this, one of the compromises that you have to accept is that there's always going to be a fixed lens hood, which means two things. Number one, it means that you're stuck with this over the lens hood kind of cap, which is obviously thicker and larger and means that it's not so easy to slip into a pocket. The other compromise is that there are no traditional filter threads, and so using screw-on filters is not really an option. Now, there is a somewhat generic cutout in the back for using gel filters, which gel filters tend to be lower grade, typically optically, but fortunately there are some third-party options like from Haida that will allow you to replace fairly easily. It's removing 4 screws and removing this filter holder and replacing it with Haida's own, which allows you to use much higher grade optical glass filters, and ones that I have nothing but good to say about, having used in a number of different kinds of applications. Eventually, if not already, there will be probably an adapter that will allow some, square front filter system. Those tend to be quite large, and filters tend to be fairly expensive for that. This is, of course, a professional grade lens, and that means that you're getting intense weather sealing here that starts with a gasket at the lens mount, internal seals throughout, a flooring coating on that big front element, which, by the way, is the largest of its kind for an extreme aspherical element, and has an intense curvature that is part of what allows them to achieve the great optical performance we'll observe in a moment. You've also got really nice materials in the build, and things like the zoom ring along with the focus ring both move nicely. The focus ring is linear, has a nice amount of damping. You've got Sony's focus hold button along with an AF/MF switch, and so you've got a nicely built lens that is designed for professional grade use. It is internally zooming, although within the constraints of the outer housing, that front element will move back and forward depending on your zoom position. It's at its most retracted at 24 millimeters, and if you go to 12 millimeters, it will extend the furthest. But again, always within the constraints of the actual housing to help to protect that large, somewhat vulnerable front element. So the build quality here is very nice, and as I've noted, while it is a large and fairly heavy lens, it's certainly not an extreme. And considering the fact of this extreme focal range and a larger maximum aperture than what you've ever seen before at this, I think they've done a fairly good job of keeping the weight as moderate as possible. I'm not willing to go lightweight in Sony's marketing, but I will say that it is moderate. When it comes to the autofocus, however, I have no reservations. Autofocus here is fantastic. They've employed actually 4, so a quad linear motor focus system, which means that there are 2 focus motors on either side of the group, the focusing group, back both at the front and at the back. And so you have both, kind of a push-pull that enables it to have enough torque to have very fast, very silent, and very accurate autofocus. And so I had great autofocus in all tested situations. And so if I, in trying to track my face and start to approach the camera, you can see that it does a smooth and consistent job of accomplishing that. And of course, if I did my focus pull test, there's basically nothing to hear. Let's take a listen just in case. And so as you can hear there, all you hear is the environmental sounds. There's no kind of focus sound, even in a very quiet environment. And so a great job there. Focus speed is basically instantaneous. And I think my best way to illustrate this is that I had been at the beach kayaking with my wife, and I'd taken a few shots after we were finished, and I was coming back towards the parking lot, and a seagull flew over my head. I, with only a split second to react, looked up, focused, took a shot, and was really delighted to find that the focus had grabbed onto the right area and it was accurately focused, beautifully focused in fact. And so that gives me confidence for those of you that want to use a lens like this for weddings, photojournalism, some other type thing where you may need to have a quick reaction. It's going to have your back and make sure that you get very quick, accurate autofocus results. Great stuff there. Also very, very good is the optical performance. Now, one of the things that stood out to me when I was doing my optical test is that there are 6 different marked positions on the lens: 12 millimeters, 14 millimeters, 16, 18, 21, and 24 millimeters. And it kind of just struck me that all of those are the focal lengths of prime lenses that I've either owned or at the very least tested, most of which I have owned. And so that goes to tell you just how much versatility is here, to where you can go from extremely wide to, still wide angle, but a much closer focus. And obviously it gives you most all of the important framing options for wide angle shooting. And so it's a very, very useful lens in terms of the focal length. At 12 millimeters, I did find that there was a fair bit of barrel distortion in a somewhat complex pattern. Fortunately, the correction profile corrects it fairly well, though I wasn't so successful manually, just because there is some mustache pattern to the distortion. As I zoomed on in, however, I found that at subsequent positions, for example, at 16 millimeters and then on at 24 millimeters, that there was, it switched to some pincushion distortion instead of barrel distortion, but much more linear, easier to correct, and the vignette reduced as I went along. And so I don't consider there to be any other real issue there in the focal range, just a little bit of complexity at the 12 millimeter range. But again, the Sony profile, either in camera or as I used it for raw files in Lightroom, cleans things up very nicely. And of course, you'll get automatic correction in camera for video work as well. And so beyond that, I saw basically no lateral or longitudinal chromatic aberrations. And so those aberrations are very well controlled. And then as we begin to examine the resolution, what I found is that at 12 millimeters, the MTFs show that there is going to be very strong performance in the middle, the center of the frame and the mid frame, with some drop off towards the corners, which is what I saw, though I actually expected a bigger drop off in the corners than what I actually saw on my test. I did note in some real world shots that corners were a little less impressive, but that was more due to some stretching from distortion than what it was an actual resolution issue. And so, by and large, I found that, stopped down a bit, I got really impressive resolution across the frame, even on a high resolution 50 megapixel camera that I was testing the lens on. As you move on throughout the zoom range, there is a fairly typical pattern that emerges. I would say that at 14 millimeters and 16 millimeters, the lens is actually the strongest and delivers just stunningly good resolution from f2.8 discriminate on all across the frame. Starting at about 18 millimeters, a resolution is still very good, but not quite as strong in the corners or in the center relative to the peak performance curve. And then at 24 millimeters, resolution is still very, very good. Though I did note that, say I tested recently a 24 millimeter f1.8 prime from Samyang, and the lens couldn't quite match that performance, because that lens was exceptionally, surprisingly good. And so, but basically you've got prime-like performance at all of those tested apertures, which means that this is going to be an extremely useful lens, because I see no reason why in most situations you can't shoot it at f2.8 if you desire. And so that allows you to have more versatility in low light, where you can still get a lot of in focus and you can get a lot of detail without having to jack up that ISO. And so a very versatile lens in terms of the focal length and the optical performance. I found also that the quality of the bokeh was actually fairly decent. Magnification level in terms of how close you can get. The lens says you can focus down to 28 centimeters, right under a foot. And but your magnification is only 0.14 times, so not off the charts. But I did find that up close performance was really, really strong in terms of actually surprisingly having a fairly flat plane of focus, but also very good contrast and resolution close up, which allows you to get some nice looking, close focus, certainly not macro-like, but close focus results with the lens. And that adds to the usefulness of it as well. Flare resistance was exceptionally good, and which is really important in a lens that goes so wide that there's going to be a lot of situations where there might be sun in the frame. But fortunately, I was really impressed. And again, going back to my seagulls, there was another one of these shots where another seagull flew over, and it happened to go right across where the sun was just glaring down midday, and I was really impressed by how much detail and contrast was retained and no ghosting artifacts to see. There are 9 rounded aperture blades, and I found that it produced a nice looking sunburst effect when you stop it down to smaller apertures. Coma performance was fairly good in that I saw no really pronounced coma where you see like wings starting to grow on star points towards the edge of the frame. I did note a little bit of elongating or stretching, and so not the top tier performance that I've seen, but certainly very useful for astrophotography as well. So at the end of the day, optically, this lens is great. It gives you tremendous versatility in terms of framing and strong resolution with no real weaknesses outside of that distortion at 12 millimeters. But I mean, it's just an exceptionally good lens optically. Now, as I noted at the beginning of it, even though the lens is exceptional, at a price point of about $3,000 US, it's not a lens for everyone. And in fact, if you are a landscape shooter, there's a good chance that you don't need to go as wide as 12 millimeters. For one thing, it takes some skill to compose with 12 millimeters, and typically you're going to want to compose to where you're trying to emphasize something through distortion. If you just shoot a landscape scene with 12 millimeters, it often feels kind of empty because everything is too far away for your audience to really connect to, and you'll get a great sense of space, but it will feel like fairly empty space. So a really wide angle lens is actually more useful when you get up close to something and you use it to emphasize, to tell a story within a bigger frame. But where it's extremely useful is if you're someone who shoots interiors, real estate photography, event or wedding photography, or even portraiture or model photography, where you're shooting indoors and often want to include various architectural details in your shot. And this obviously gives you a lot of versatility in that outdoors you often have the opportunity to back up. Indoors, that's not always available to you. And so, for example, if you're someone that shoots real estate, for example, in this fairly large, bathroom, if I shot at 24 millimeters, everything seems really cramped and kind of compressed together. And if I shoot at 16 millimeters, which is a common, starting point for a lot of wide-angle zooms, it's better, obviously, but if I go back to 12 millimeters, there's so much more of a sense of space and inclusion of much more of what's happening in the bathroom space. And so obviously that's going to be incredibly useful, and you can just kind of extrapolate from that the usefulness of a wide angle if you're shooting architectural details, shooting city, different things like that. And so I certainly know that there is an audience for this lens, but I don't think that everyone needs it either, which is a good news because it's large large and it's expensive, and so buy what you need. But if you need to go very wide angle, this is the only lens that's going to give you both 12 millimeters on full frame and also a maximum aperture of f2.8, which makes it obviously an extremely valuable lens, and it's priced accordingly. I'm Dustin Abbott, and if you look in the description down below, you can find linkage to my full text review, also to an image gallery if you want to check out some of the photos that I took with it. There are buying links there if you've decided you want to purchase one. Also linkage to check out my merchandise or to follow me on social media, become a patron, or sign up for my newsletter that comes out on Thursdays. And if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button right here on YouTube, ring that bell so you get notifications when new content drops. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.